Hello. 1 2 3. 1 2 3.
Good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for July 13th, 2022. It's great to see so many faces in the audience today. Before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that we have a large number of power outages across the state. As of now, we have about 90,000 customers out statewide, with the majority of outages in Carroll County, Baltimore County, and Prince George's County. I want to express the Commission's appreciation to all the linemen and utility workers have worked throughout the night to restore customers. As of last night, we had 240,000 customers out, so we're down to just shy of 90,000 at the moment, and hopefully everybody else gets reconnected today. But that was an unexpected freak summer thunderstorm, which wreaked quite a bit of havoc, a lot of downed trees, a lot of downed wires. So our thanks to the appreciation of the utilities for responding so quickly. Additionally, I want to thank some of you who joined us yesterday in Catonsville at the Baltimore County Community College, where we had the Commission's annual Supplier Diversity Conference. I had the honor and privilege to recognize that we, the public service companies, you, spent over $1.4 billion with diverse suppliers over the course of the last calendar year. That includes money spent with women, minority-owned, LGBT, and veterans organizations. So that is something to be proud of, and hopefully we'll set another record again next year. With that, we do have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting of July 6, 2022. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 5 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a notice from HP Technologies, Inc. of a cancellation of bond from Liberty Mutual Surety. Item number 2 is updated SOS rates for Type 2 customers from Potomac Edison Company. Item number 3 is revised tariff pages from Matrix Telecom LLC, proposing a name change. Also revised tariff pages proposing a name change from Atlantic Broadband Enterprise LLC. And finally, item number 5, revised tariff pages regarding 8YY access charge reform from Armstrong Telecommunications, Inc.
Seeing no questions from my colleagues, I would move that with respect to item number 1, we cancel the company's electric and natural gas supplier licenses. With respect to item number 2, we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of September 1st, 2022. With respect to item number 3, I move that we note the company's name change and accept the tariff for filing with an effective date of July 13th, 2022. With respect to item number 4, I move that we note the company's name change and accept the tariff for filing with an effective date of July 9th, 2022. And finally, with respect to item number 5, I move that we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of July 18th, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 6 on the administrative meeting agenda is a request from Dan's Mountain Solar LLC to extend construction and operational deadlines.
Thank you. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. DeAndre Wilson on behalf of technical staff. On July 11, 2016, in case number 9400, the Commission issued a CPCN that authorizes Dan's Mountain Solar LLC to build an 18.36 megawatt solar photovoltaic facility that will interconnect to the PJM system through Potomac Edison's 138 kV transmission line located between the Frostburg and Ridgely substations located in Allegheny County, Maryland. After receiving this approved CPCN on June 18th of 2019, Dan's Mountain filed a written request with the Commission asking for a 3-year extension of the construction and operation deadlines proposed by PPRP as part of its licensing conditions. As justification for this request, Dan's Mountain cited its difficulty in ensuring the economic viability of the project. On August 28, 2019, the Commission issued a letter order granting the company's request for an extension, subject to conditions proposed by PPRP and Maryland Department of the Environment. The company was required to commence construction by June 9th of 2022 and to begin operation no later than June 9th of 2023. On May 31st, 2022, Dan's Mountain Solar filed its second request for the Commission to extend construction and operational deadlines for the project, for which the Commission granted a temporary extension until the Commission has considered the request at an administrative meeting. Dan's Mountain says that this second request extension is due to PJM's rescinding the facility study and interconnection service agreement for the project, which is now expected to be completed approximately 4 months from April 22nd, 2022. Therefore, Dan's Mountain is requesting that the Commission extend the deadlines such that Dan's Mountain will be required to begin construction by July 9th of 2023 and will be required to complete construction for operation by July 9th of 2024, which is a 1-year extension for each deadline. Staff finds that the challenges faced by Dan's Mountain due to PJM's decision to rescind its completed facility study and interconnection service agreement or restudy constitute good cause for approval of Dan's request for a second extension. There have also been no design changes made to the project since Dan Mountain's first extension request, and there have been no changes to the name of the interconnection customer requesting connection to the PJM transmission system. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission grant Dan Mountain's Solar LLC's request to extend the construction and operational deadlines an additional year, such that Dan's Mountain may begin construction by July 9th of 2023 and must complete the project for operation by July 9th of 2024, subject to any conditions proposed by PPRP and the Maryland Department of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. At this time, I'll recognize the Assistant Attorney General representing the Power Plant Research Program.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Steve Carlson, Assistant Attorney General representing the Power Plant Research Program. And with me this morning, I also have Mr. Bob Sidzinski, who's the Acting Director of PPRP. On June 29th, 2022, PPRP filed a letter into the record stating that it did not oppose the request for a 1-year extension, but that if it was granted by the Commission, PPRP would like to be provided with updated site plans and confirmed county permit requirements 60 days in advance of the start of construction so that they could review those and, if necessary, submit revised and updated recommended licensing condition to the Commission for your consideration and approval. And that is our position on this. We do not oppose the request for an extension, but if you have any questions, Mr. Sidzinski can probably address them.
Thank you, Mr. Tolson. I saw counsel for Dan's Mountain nodding his head in agreement as you were making your statement, so we'll hear from him. Before we turn to counsel for Dan's Mountain, we do have a letter on the record dated July 12th from President Jake Shade, Allegheny County Board of Commissioners, expressing his support for this extension and the project generally. So that is noted for the record. Counsel for Dan's Mountain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. David Bugelmans on behalf of Dan's Mountain Solar LLC. We're also joined today by Mr. Howard Ulip, one of the developers of the project. We have nothing to add to staff's presentation. We also agree with PPRP's request to submit a updated site plan for review, and we agree that if necessary, PPRP should update its conditions subject to the Commission's approval. Otherwise, we're here to answer any questions, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, one question for you. At the very end of your recitation there, you stated that the Commission should grant the extension subject to the conditions Mr. Tolson just noted, but you also said the Maryland Department of the Environment, and I do not see MDE with us today. Do you know what MDE wants?
I can't recall precisely, but I thought they were asking them to do another test or another environmental test or something in order for them to be granted or for them to give their approval for the project. But, I mean, they're here to correct us if I'm wrong.
Okay, Mr. Bugelmans, are you aware of any additional conditions by MDE?
I'm not aware of any additional conditions. I do know that PPRP, when it does its review, it consults with MDE. So, when I read that, perhaps it means that the expectation is there would be consultation if necessary, but I'm aware of no approvals from MDE that are necessary or anticipated for this project.
All right. We know that our subject matter state agencies and the resource agencies work together with each other. So we'll We'll note your concurrence with Mr. Tolson's request today. Do commissioners have questions? Commissioner Linton.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to the parties. Just a quick question, response to for the company, in response to data request number 1. You noted that the error that PGM discovered was Dan's Mountain in your response to the data request. You noted that Dan's Mountain selected the quote-unquote option to build, unquote option, but there was some additional information that wasn't included. So was the error just a matter of some data and information not being provided, and there wasn't any other issue that PGM identified?
Essentially, they overlooked the fact that I requested option to build, which then caused me to question the cost of the substation that they had estimated in their budget, which said if we had the option to build, we would have the opportunity to reduce those costs due to your overhead, I mean not over theirs, but Potomac Edison's overhead, and our investigation with qualified builders as to what the cost would be for a like substation. And so they reviewed it and said, oh, you're right, we did not consider the option to bid because we overlooked that. And yes, we have to do the facility study over again to segregate the activities of Potomac Edison versus what you would do if you built the substation yourself. That's why they're doing the restudy, based
Okay.
purely on that.
Okay, so at this point, it's still an option. You haven't chosen one or the other. It's still.
Well, we want the option to build because we know we can save N% for sure on the building cost of that substation, and deliver it with certified builders, acceptable to First Energy.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bubar.
Thank you. Wow, this process is not for the faint of heart, for sure. My first question was actually just answered, so I was going to ask why you went with the option to build, but thank you for that answer. And so the information provided by the company, it kind of seems to demonstrate a continuing serious commitment to this facility despite all the regulatory zigs and zags. But can you provide any additional information on what the financing companies are looking for to be convinced to provide new or additional financing? Because in the answers, it was there were kind of a multitude of answers in terms of kind of different regulatory agencies maybe giving approval. So just looking for some clarity on that.
Sure. So it's a number of factors. Mr. Ulip can chime in after me, but obviously a big one, Your Honor, is finalizing the interconnection process, because without that, there isn't a project, frankly. So that's a big one. The other one is the CPCN, because we're faced with an expiration date this month. So that's a big one as well. Mr. Ulip, do you have any other?
Well, the fact that all investors like to have a PPA in place to assure them that there's a revenue stream that they can count on. The PPA providers or buyers, so to speak, off-takers, want to wait until they see what the schedule is for implementation, the COD date, so they can then plan for when they can buy that power and use that power. The other aspect from the investor side is that they would like to know what that substation cost. It's a significant cost. The original estimate was around $10 million. 3 years ago, it was $6 million. For some reason, over 3 years, it jumped another 50%. And they're going like, how is this? And that was my question back to PJM is, why did it jump so high? Well, the answer to me was, we made mistakes in the past and we want to make sure we cover ourselves in terms of cost. And I said, well, if I have the option to build, then I get to control the cost. And they agreed with that. So I did check the option to build. The studiers overlooked that and did a full build out using the utilities resources versus using our resources. Now, and the third level is, back then, everybody was looking for a PPA. Today, there are investors who want to come into the U.S., and own assets here that provide renewable energy power, and they are not looking for a PPA. My new investors are willing to go with the open market sale of their power, but they want to boost their U.S. balance sheets using renewable energy because they know how significant it is to the current administration and our economy. So I'm getting tons of interest now that we're getting towards the end of the study phase. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork wanting to participate in the acquisition or the support of our project.
Thank you. I actually have a follow-up question, but maybe it's irrelevant given what you just said, and that was, were there any funds from the IIJA, the infrastructure bill that was passed that may be relevant to this project?
No, we are not seeking any of that.
And then I guess my last question is, do you have a strategy for successfully reaching out to the multiple agencies that may have new staff that have to review and reconsider things that may have already been approved, but you have to go back since time has passed?
Sure. So I could answer that, Your Honor. So Allegheny County actually has a coordinated and consolidated process. So generally, there's one point person that facilitates a review with all of the county agencies. So, and we have consultants on our side who are kind of regulars at the county and know that process. So we've already re-engaged with the county, and we're starting that back up again. The project actually did get fairly far along with local permits, but because of this interconnection issue, those were put on hold. So they have to kind of pick things back up. But that is underway, and there's one point person that will facilitate all of this.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we grant the company's request to extend the construction and operational deadlines outlined within its CPCN an additional 1 year, such that Dan's Mountain must begin construction by July 9th, 2023, and complete the project for operation by July 9th, 2024, subject to the conditions noted by the Power Plant Research Program. Of course, any previous conditions from MDE should remain honored. The vote begins with Commissioner Buar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, items number 7 and 8 consist of tariff revisions updating the electric vehicle charging riders for Delmarva Power and Light Company and Potomac Electric Power Company.
Thank you. Mr. Justy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Anson Justy on behalf of staff. On May 31st, 2022, Potomac Electric Power Company, PEPCO, and Delmarva Power and Light Company, Delmarva, filed revisions to their tariffs to include the requirements of their Electric Vehicle Smart Charge Management Projects, EVSCM. The EVSCM project is a result of a successful grant application, the Exelon Joint Utilities, which also includes BGE, submitted to the Department of Energy, which was granted on October 1st, 2020. The Commission approved ratepayer contributions necessary to receive this grant on August 30th, 2021. The EVSCM project implements rebate incentives for residential and commercial customers to encourage EV charging practices that reduce peak demand grid strain. Residential classes may receive a monthly gift card in exchange for allowing the companies, through their vendor, to control EV charging flows, subject to a customer-determined time at which the car is fully charged. Commercial fleet customers may receive free EV chargers and a quarterly check in exchange for being responsible for the cost of installation and maintenance, and for charging on a schedule as determined by working with their service company. The companies have indicated that PEPCO and Delmarva combined will receive approximately 50% of the grant funds, with BGE receiving the other 50%. PEPCO and Delmarva will split their funds with a 70-30 split. Staff recommends the Commission require the company to report relevant program data in its semi-annual EV charging pilot progress reports, accept the proposed tariff revisions to include a definition for how the number of chargers provided to commercial fleet customers is calculated and how commercial rebates are provided, and require the company to file clean copies of its revised tariff with an effective date of August 1st, 2022. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Justy. We'll turn to counsel for PHI.
Good morning, Commissioners. Taylor Beckham here on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light Company, as well as Potomac Electric Power Company. The company, Delmarva Power and Potomac Electric Power Company, accepts staff's proposals, and I have with me today Dan O'Connor, our manager of Smart Grid Electric Vehicle Programs, if you guys have any questions.
Thank you. Where's Mr. O'Connor? Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. I just wanted to put a name to the face. I do recall approving this last summer. This was before the passage and signing of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, IIJA. So I appreciate the utilities pursuing these funds even before we had the flow of billions of dollars from the federal government coming our way. There are some among us who believe that the utilities will leave money on the table when grant offerings from the federal government become available. I am not one of those people. I appreciate our utilities being extremely proactive with respect not only to the IIJA funding, but this other federal DOE-based funding that would match ratepayer funds with effectively free federal dollars, although nothing is free in life. So I do appreciate your coming back and your agreement with staff to make changes to the respective tariffs. I turn to my colleagues if they have questions. Commissioner Bubar.
Just one question. Could you describe, maybe in a little bit more detail, the flow of communication between like the residential customer, the app that they use, to track the utility, and then AECom, who's going to be, sending out the checks? I just wasn't sure kind of exactly how that information would flow.
Good morning.
Hi.
So WeaveGrid will be our vendor for the app that the residential customers use, and WeaveGrid will be delivering data to us daily about their activities. AECom is the administrator on the back end for our data analytics team. We'll be compiling all the data, and then AECom acknowledges all the data, puts it all together, and submits or verifies with us what the check should be, or the gift card rebate should be, and sends them out on a monthly basis.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the company for being here today. For this particular program, if I understand correctly, there will be I guess what you call it, an incentive that goes to both a residential or a commercial customer. Is that being fully funded by the IIJA dollars, or is there also a Maryland ratepayer component to that incentive?
The vast majority of the dollars are through the DOE funds, over 4.9 million of the 5 million. There is a component, though, that both PHI and BGE are responsible for on the order of $100,000 to $200,000, and that will pay for program implementation as well as some of the incentives.
Okay, so that'll be shared with the ratepayers then.
Correct.
Cost, okay. So with these incentives, I guess for the residential, there's this I guess, a component that will say if they opt out too often. So in that case, do they not get the $10 that month, or do they get jettisoned from the company or from the program altogether? How does that work?
It can be both. So if a residential customer declines the opportunity for smart charging more than 4 times in a month, they would not receive the $10 that month. If they were to decline more than 3 times a month during a calendar year, they would be unenrolled from the program.
Okay. And then for the residential, for the commercial, I guess the rule is that they will not be removed from the program, but should that commercial customer not comply with the terms, will they still get the $25 to $500 incentive, or is that something that'll be held back?
If they don't comply with the terms, they would not receive the rebate, but we decided not to have an unenrollment policy for them just because of the startup cost of giving them the L2 chargers, as well as our faith with our large customer services relationships with those customers to improve the relationship if they were unenrolling frequently.
Okay, good. But they will not, if they do not comply with the terms, they will not get the $25 to $500 incentive.
Correct.
For that period of time that they do not comply. Okay,
Correct.
great. Thank you very much. I appreciate those answers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that with respect to items number 7 and number 8, that we direct both PEPCO and Delmarva Power and Light Company to report relevant program data in its semi-annual electric vehicle charging pilot progress reports, accept the proposed tariff revisions for filing as revised by staff in its comments dated July 6th, 2022, and direct both companies to file clean copies of its revised tariff pages with an effective date of August 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Buber.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 9 is a notice from Washington Gas Light Company of a natural gas transportation agreement between the company and the National Institutes of Health.
Good morning, staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Alex Holtschneider on behalf of staff. On February 25th, 2022, Washington Gas Light Company filed a natural gas transportation agreement between Washington Gas and the National Institutes of Health. This special contract is for a 3-year term beginning March 1st, 2022 for NIH's cogeneration facilities located in Bethesda, Maryland. Staff reviewed the 3 guidelines required by the Commission to determine if the proposed contract met the Commission standards. The 3 requirements are: 1. A special contract should recover customer-specific variable costs and some contribution of fixed costs. 2. The utility that is seeking approval of a special contract must demonstrate that the special rate customer in fact does have a viable alternative. And 3. While special contracts may result in cost shifting, they cannot create excessive rate increases for other customers. Though staff documented some concerns, staff does believe the special contract meets all 3 guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends the Commission approve the contract. Also, staff has concerns about the timing of the application. Washington Gas filed with the Commission on February 25th, 2022, and the proposed contract was supposed to go into effect March 1st, 2022. For future contracts with NIH, staff recommends the Commission require Washington Gas to file 3 months before its effective date. Therefore, staff recommends the Commission approve the contract effective July 13th, 2022. Also, staff recommends the Commission direct that the company, if it chooses to renegotiate or renew a contract with NIH, file a new contract with the Commission 3 months before it is effective.
Thank you, Mr. Holtschneider. Counsel for the utility.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners and Executive Secretary. Paul Buckley on behalf of Washington Gas, and I'm also joined by several other Washington Gas employees in case there are some questions. Only have some very brief comments. In addition to thanking the staff for all of its hard work during this time, we know that they have some awesome responsibilities, and they very diligently went through their analysis for an extended period of time. Just 2 substantive comments, and they're really very minor. First is on the condition for the 3-month deadline in advance of the next contract renewal. Washington Gas agrees. We think it's actually a very good addition, as this past series of discussions have demonstrated to us. A lack of a very good advance deadline kind of enables discussions with counterparties to go on a very long time, and so this is a very good thing. The second thing is, and this is one that the company is rather agnostic on, is the effective date. So the company has requested that the rate increase for this customer, and the customer agrees, go into effect as of March 1. The staff is recommending it go into effect as of today. So the company's agnostic. If the Commission wishes to adopt the staff's recommendation that it be prospective only, the company will make it so. However, the additional revenues would inure to other customers, and NIH has already agreed to pay the higher amount for the intervening period of time. So we, commend that to the Commission, and that there's an additional benefit for customers should you choose to avail yourself of it.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
There will be. There's Mr. Albert might be able to field this question. Mr. Albert, is it or Mr. Holtschneider? Here we have an interesting situation where the customer is okay with actually being billed retroactively to March 1st, 2022. Is your concern retroactive rate making if the parties agree to the charge?
Just generally, anytime you're seeing a new rate, especially a higher rate going into effect, just generally speaking, we're concerned, and we cited precedent, this Chesapeake Utilities case, where you can't go ahead and impose it on day 1 and then come in here on day 2. Having said that, we appreciate the comment by WGL that this is really this is for the benefit of the rest of WGL's customers. So we'd be okay with that, authorizing it. Again, we don't think that should be the general rule, but this is sort of the unusual circumstance where there's no harm. and in fact, indeed, there's a benefit for customers.
I agree with you that that this is a special circumstance and it should not be the general rule. Do we have your customer here today? Is NIH in the room?
Actually, Your Honor, no, they couldn't make it.
Okay, but they've stated that you could state on their behalf that they're comfortable paying retroactively to March 1st.
Yes, and in fact, the contract language itself says effective as of March 1st.
Okay. Thank you. I would honor the contract. I turn to my colleagues if they have questions. Commissioner
I
Bubar.
just have one question. So has Washington Gas done a review? You alluded to this a little bit, but have they done a review of your processes or procedures to address the issue of late filings?
Yes, Your Honor. This case is a little bit unusual. I'll give you tiny bits of background. First of all, we have 500,000 customers. Special contracts are exceptional. We only have 4 in Maryland, so it doesn't come up very often. It just so happens that 3 of them came up for renewal in the last year, so it seems like there's a lot. Secondly, we're dealing with the federal government. It's been quite a challenge dealing with the monolith that is the federal government and all of their personnel changes in the last 2 years. We actually started negotiating this quite a long time ago. Been a lot of changes. So I offer nothing other than a mea culpa that, yes, we could have and should have been in earlier, but there were a lot of factors that truly were beyond the company's control. So, you know, it's true that we're late on this. We did file it in advance, but not early enough. We agree with the staff's 3-month condition. It's actually going to help us the next time by saying there's a commission-approved deadline instead of them taking our word for it that the commission has time to review. So hopefully in the future it won't be repeated.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we approve the contract effective March 1st, 2022, and direct the company, if it chooses to renegotiate or renew a contract with the National Institutes of Health, to file that new contract with the Commission 3 months before it becomes effective. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Buckley, are you handling the tax surcharge items?
I am, Your Honor. We have no comments. We're just available for questions.
Okay, well, why don't we call 11 and 12 so we could get the WGL people out of here?
Mr. Chairman, items number 11 and 12 are energy tax revisions for Montgomery County and Prince George's County from Washington Gas Light Company.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Mark Riley on behalf of staff. Agenda item number 11, on June 30th, 2022, WGL filed its Montgomery County surcharge, which reflects the Commission assessment factor for fiscal year 2023 and the Montgomery County Fuel Energy Tax, MCFET. The MCFET rates for the period July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 for gas customers are 0.09515 per therm for residential customers and 0.17026 per therm for non-residential customers, which are unchanged from the last fiscal year. The MCFET is grossed up for the fiscal year 2023 Commission assessment rate of $0.002773 and the gross receipts tax of 2%, which is unchanged from last fiscal year. The gross up calculation results in an MCS billing rate of $0.973673 per therm for residential customers and $0.1742277 per therm for non-residential customers. The MCS monthly bill impact for a gas residential customer using 60 therms per month will be $5.84, which is unchanged from the FY22 billing rate. Staff recommends the Commission note the filing with an effective date of July 2022. Staff also recommends the Commission waive the 30-day notice period required under PUA Section 4203A.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Buckley, anything to add?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do commissioners have questions? Seeing none, with respect to item number 11 and 12, I move that we note the filing with an effective date of July 1st, 2022, and grant a waiver of the 30-day notice period required by Public Utilities Article Section 4-203A. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion for items 11 and 12 is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 10 is a revision to the Montgomery County Fuel Energy Local Tax Adjustment from the Potomac Edison Company.
Okay. On June 30th, 2022, PE filed its Montgomery County Fuel Energy Local Tax Assessment, which reflects the Commission's assessment factor for fiscal year 2023 pursuant to the Commission's letter order dated June 17th, 2022. It also reflects the Montgomery County Fuel Energy Tax, MCFET, which is unchanged. Montgomery County imposes a fuel energy tax, the MCFET, on energy consumption within the county. Utilities are liable for the tax revenue associated with the energy consumption and have been authorized to assess a surcharge to the Montgomery County customers to recover the energy tax. The MCFET rates for the period July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 for its electric customers are 0.01106 per kilowatt for residential customers and $0.01978 per kilowatt for non-residential customers, which are unchanged from the last fiscal year. The MCFET is grossed up for the fiscal year 2023 assessment rate of $0.002773 and the gross up receipts tax of 2%, which is unchanged from the last fiscal year. The gross up calculation results in a Montgomery County MCS billing rate of $0.0113177 per kilowatt hour for residential customers and $0.0202409 per kilowatt hour for non-residential customers. The MCS monthly billing impact for an electric residential customer using 1,000 kilowatts per month will be $11.32, which when rounded is an increase of 1 cent from the FY 2022 MCS billing rate. Staff recommends the Commission note the filing with an effective date of July 1, 2022 and waive the 30-day notice required under PUA Section 4203A.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. A lot of decimals.
Yes.
Counsel for Potomac Edison.
Good morning, Greg Waterworth on behalf of Potomac Edison. Potomac Edison has nothing to add to staff recommendation other than appreciation of the recommendation to waive the notice.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no questions, I would move that we note the filing with an effective date of July 1st, 2022, and grant a waiver of the 30-day notice period required by Public Utilities Article Section -4-203A. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 13 is a proposed tariff from the Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, Inc. for Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission.
Good morning, Mr. McAuliffe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. On April 29th, 2022, Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, or SMECO, filed a proposed new tariff schedule, Schedule WSSC, to the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission. SMECO has proposed this new schedule because of the planned construction of a cogeneration facility at its WSSC Piscataway wastewater treatment plant. The combined heat and power CHP facilities will consist of three 1,550 kilowatt lean burn engine generators. These generators will allow WSSC to change from a full requirements customer to a supplemental service customer because all or part of WSSC's kilowatt hour consumption will be offset by the on-site generators. WSSC has paid in full for all distribution upgrades that were needed to support the on-site generation facility. No upgrade costs will be passed on to other SMECO customers, and there will be no impact on any other SMECO customers at this time. Furthermore, SMECO will not purchase any energy or capacity from the facility. Staff does not have concerns that WSSC will be subsidized by other SMECO customers. WSSC is currently an over-earning customer and will continue to be so if the proposed tariff is approved. Also, SMECO will receive more distribution revenue from WSSC if the proposed tariff is approved, rather than if WSSC remained on its current LP tariff once the cogeneration facilities are complete. The facility is not expected to be operational until April 2023, and the proposed tariff was developed because of WSSC's change to a supplemental customer. But as I stated, the proposed facility is not yet complete, and WSSC's usage patterns have not yet changed. Therefore, staff recommended that tariff revisions be made that require the CHP facility to be operational prior to WSSC's receiving service under this tariff. SMECO has agreed with this recommendation and filed a revised tariff on June 6, 2022, which added new language which required the CHP facility to be placed into operation before the tariff takes effect. With this revision, staff recommends the Commission accept for filing the revised scheduled WSSC tariff with effective date of August 1st, 2022. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Counsel for the utility.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Mark McDougall on behalf of SMECO. I have no additional comments other than to thank staff for working with us on the amendment that we had to our tariff. We are available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. McDougall. Commissioner Bubar.
Just one question. I was looking at WSSC's website. I'm familiar with this project from working in Montgomery County and working with WSSC, who knew it would come back with this kind of question. But the website says that it is expected to be substantially complete in November of 2024. And I guess right now, as you noted, Drew, that WSSC is we're over collecting. And so will that be ongoing through November of 2024, whenever, I guess we're using the term operational, but WSSC said it'll be substantially complete in November 2024.
There won't be any change to the rates under which we will be collecting monies from WSSC even through November. The amendment to the application that we worked through with staff indicates that there will be no, the new rate won't go into effect until it is complete and they're operating under, and it's operating fully. So we've been told that that'll be April of next year. So the November date from SMECO's standpoint is just illusory. Yeah.
With this change in language, I guess it's not really relevant.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, I would move that we... Commissioner Linton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm hesitant to ask the question, but I'm not sure if counsel for SMECO can answer it, and not because of he's certainly a learned counsel, but you are.
I'd like to learn more, Mr. Knight.
Well, I was just reading over your data response to the staff. It was question 2-2, and it referenced the company's use, the company being WSSC's use of pipeline gas to run these facilities, and I'm assuming that's because this is a backup system that would operate in the event that the site-produced biogas was not available. And my questions were related to that area, but and it was in your answer, so I figured you might have some familiarity with it, but I didn't know how far you would be knowledgeable about WSSC's use of biogas.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn more. Mr. Bradford is here with us today. Eugene Bradford is SMECO's Vice President of Rates. And I also have Lizelle Rory here. And Ms. Rory is SMECO's Economic Services Director. And they have been in contact with WSSC. And if anybody is here to be able to answer that question, I think they would be the people. So looks like Mr. Bradford has drawn the short straw.
Good morning, Commissioner Eugene Bradford. We have not gotten any further into the details of the operation with the gas supply to the facility. So I don't have any information to provide for you on that.
All right, I thank you, I appreciate it. I'm not opposed to the request. I'm just curious as to, we actually had some filing from WSSC several months ago regarding the biogas facility, so I just wanted to learn a little more about it, but I'm sure it'll come back at some point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Council.
At this time, I would move that we accept the revised scheduled WSSC tariff as proposed by the cooperative with an effective date of August 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 14 is a notice of refund from Columbia Gas Transmission LLC and a proposal for distributing the refund from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Mr. Holzschneider.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Alex Holzschneider on behalf of staff. On May 3rd, 2022, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed a proposed refund of $18,098,578 split between Gas Commodity Service, or GCS, customers and Daily Requirements Service, DRS, suppliers. This refund is the result of the settlement of Columbia Gas Transmission LLC's rate case at FERC. BGE suggested the refund be split with $15,655,020 to GCS customers and $2,433,558 to DRS suppliers. The GCS customer refund is for residential and commercial customers who use BGE for their gas supply. The approximately $15.6 million refund will be supplied as a per-therm discount in BG&E's monthly gas commodity price. This refund will be issued from May 2022 to April 2023. This methodology follows Rider 2 of the company's gas service tariff. BG&E estimates that the average residential customer will receive a total refund of $21.89, or $1.82 a month. Staff asked BG&E about the viability of a direct refund to customers, but the company stated that a direct refund will be costly and delay the return of funds significantly. The DRS supplier refund is for various costs retail suppliers paid BG&E that were impacted by the FERC rate case. The approximate $2.5 million will be directly refunded to DRS suppliers. Staff reviewed BG&E's refund calculations and their methodologies for refunding customers and agrees with both. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission approve the proposed refund.
Thank you. We'll turn to the company.
Good morning, Chairman Stanek and Commissioners. Beverly Sikora on behalf of BGE. I also have John Frayne, the Director of Regulatory Strategy and Revenue Policy, with me today. We have no comments, but we're here for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sikora. Any questions? Seeing none, I would move that we approve the proposed refund. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item numbers 15, 16, 17, and 18 consist of community solar energy generation system tariff revisions from the Potomac Edison Company, Delmarva Power and Light Company, Potomac Electric Power Company, and Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Thank you. Utility Council can remain seated.
Good
Thank
morning
you.
again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. A quick note of clarification for the Exelon companies. The buck sheet refers to accepting tariffs as revised by staff. This is only referring to a date change. The Net Metering Working Group has developed updates to the Community Solar Energy Generation Systems pilot program that have resulted in changes to the Code of Maryland Regulations 20.62.02.02. Potomac Edison, PE, Potomac Electric Power Company, PEPCO, Delmarva Power and Light Company, Delmarva, and Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, BGE, have filed updates to their Community Solar Energy Generation Systems tariffs to comply with these changes. The main changes of note are establishing Program Year 6 to begin 18 months after Year 4, and to increase category capacities by 100% in Years 5 and 6, and by 90% in Year 7. Additional language was also added to the tariffs regarding subscription coordinators and clarifying the waitlisting process. PEPCO and Delmarva filed on June 14, 2022, and BGE filed on June 15, 2022. For these three companies, staff reviewed the changes and capacity calculations and concluded the company's changes were accurate. PE filed on May 26, 2022. In its review, staff noted a minor calculation error in determining capacities for year 7. Staff has worked with the company to come to an agreement on updated calculations for that year. All 4 companies filed with a request for a retroactive effective date. Staff instead recommends an effective date of today, July 13th, 2022 instead. Staff recommends the Commission accept the tariffs as revised by staff with effective dates of July 13th, 2022, and that the companies be required to file clean copies of the tariffs. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Justy, Mr. Davis as well. At this point, do any of the utility representatives wish to respond to staff's recommendation? If so, please approach the podium. Seeing none, I'll turn to my colleagues to see if there's any questions. Seeing none, I would move that with respect to items 15, 16, 17, and 18, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing as revised by staff in its comments dated July 1st, 2022, and direct the company to file clean copies of the revised tariff pages with an effective date of July 13th, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Bubar.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion for all 4 items is approved. Before we adjourn today, just a note, we will have no regular administrative meeting next week. Our next meeting will be on July 27th. I will not be here, but Commissioner Richard will serve as chair for that meeting 2 weeks from today. With that, I'll see you in August, and this meeting is adjourned.